After 11 months, the woman who built this bill just said 5 words that change everything. It's time to get people on the record. Stop for a second and really hear that. For almost a year, the Clarity Act has lived in the shadows, behind closed doors, in late-night rooms most of us will never see. Senator Cynthia Lummis has been in those rooms every single night, adding more than 300 pages, fighting for every line. And this morning, live on national television, she looked into the camera and basically said, the hiding is over. No more guessing who's really with us. No more senators hiding behind vague statements. She wants every name on the record, in the light, where 67 million American crypto holders can finally see exactly who fought for them and who didn't. That is a bigger deal than any price candle. Because here's what most people watching don't realize. Getting a bill to this moment, the moment where they stop negotiating and start counting, is the hardest part of the entire journey. And XRP is sitting right in the middle of it. So today, I'm not going to hand you hype. I'm going to hand you the truth, straight from her own words. What Lummis actually said, what it really means, and the one quiet piece of this bill that could protect the builders of XRP's future for decades. And I promise you, by the end, you're going to feel a whole lot better about exactly where we stand. So take a breath, relax your shoulders, and let me walk you through the best explanation of this you'll find anywhere. Let's go. Quick word from the heart before we start. I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing here is a price promise. This is me breaking down the news for you, straight, like family. Washington moves fast, and things can change hour to hour, so do your own research and never risk what you can't afford to lose. We're early, and we're in this together. Let me take you right into the interview, because this is the source, and I always want you working from the source, not from a screenshot. This morning, Senator Cynthia Lummis went on national television. And remember who she is. She's the chairwoman of the Senate Subcommittee on Digital Assets. She is not a commentator. She is the single most important person carrying this bill through the Senate. When she talks, it's not noise. It's the scoreboard. And here's the honest headline. She said the Senate is likely not leaving on Friday like they were supposed to. They're prepared to work into the weekend to get this done. Now, the hype crowd will spin that as a delay and try to scare you. I see it the exact opposite way, and here's why. Senators do not give up their vacation for a bill they've given up on. You stay late for the things you intend to finish. Staying is a signal of seriousness, not weakness. Then she said the line that I think is the real story. After 11 months of negotiating with Democrats, after adding more than 300 pages at their request, she said it's simply time to get people on the record. Let me translate what that means, because it's powerful. For almost a year, this has been happening in private. Nobody could see who was truly for it and who was just posturing. What Lummis is calling for is the moment that ends the games. A vote forces every single senator to stand up in the light and be counted. As one senator put it, that's how you finally find out who's been quietly positioning versus who will actually deliver. And notice the tone underneath her words. She wasn't panicking. She was proud. Proud of 11 months of work. Proud that this became a genuinely bipartisan bill. That's not the voice of someone watching a bill die. That's the voice of someone walking it up to the finish line. But here's where I have to be the honest one, because there's a word you're going to hear this week that people are about to badly misuse. All right, real talk, because this is where I protect you from the hype machine. You're going to hear the word vote thrown around this week like it means the bill is law. So let me arm you with something most channels won't bother to explain, because understanding this makes you calm while everyone else is panicking. There isn't just one vote. There are actually 3 steps to get a bill like this across the finish line. First, a vote to even start debating it. Then a vote to end debate. And finally, the vote on passage itself. That first step has a fancy name, cloture. And all it really means is, do we agree to start the conversation? So if you see a vote happen this week, and it's that first procedural step, do not let anyone tell you the bill just passed. It didn't. It cleared the on-ramp. That's real progress. but it's an on-ramp, not the destination. Now, why am I telling you this instead of just hyping the vote? Because here's the thing. Knowing this is a gift. When the influencers scream, "It passed," and then the price does nothing and everyone panics, you're going to be the calm one who understood the process all along. You won't get faked out. You won't get shaken out. That's the entire game in this space, not getting emotionally played by a headline. And here's the genuinely encouraging part. Even reaching this procedural moment is enormous. Do you know how many bills die quietly in a drawer, never even getting to this stage? Most of them. The fact that we're talking about cloture at all means this bill fought its way to the front of the line, past a government funding fight, past nominations, past a dozen other priorities. It earned its place on that floor. So for XRP holders, here's your reframe. A first vote isn't the party, it's the doors opening. And the fact that we're standing at the doors, after everyone spent a year saying this was dead on arrival, is a win worth understanding clearly. And speaking of what most people misunderstand, let's talk about the number everyone's got backwards. Let me show you something that looks scary on the surface and is actually the most bullish thing in this whole video. Right now, if you look at the prediction markets, the betting odds of the Clarity Act becoming law this year are sitting low. Some have it around 16%, and I can already hear the doom crowd. See, it's over. No, slow down. Let me show you how the sharpest people in finance read a moment exactly like this. An executive from Franklin Templeton, one of the biggest asset managers on the planet, described this environment perfectly. He said sentiment right now is awful. Just awful. But in the very same breath, he said the fundamentals are improving and institutions are onboarding so fast that the market makers literally can't keep up with the pace. Read that again because it's everything. Awful sentiment, improving reality. Those two things pointing in opposite directions at the same time. That gap is where fortunes get made. When everyone feels terrible, but the actual foundation is getting stronger underneath, that's not the end of a story. That's the setup before the turn. The pessimism is loud because it's emotional. The adoption is quiet because it's just people doing the work, onboarding, building, allocating, off camera. So those low odds? They're not measuring whether crypto wins. They're measuring whether one specific bill gets signed on one specific timeline. Even if this exact bill slips, the SEC's own Commissioner Hester Peirce made it crystal clear this week. The agency is going to keep building crypto rules either way. The direction does not reverse. Only the timeline moves. And here's your takeaway. When the crowd is most scared and the builders are most busy, that disconnect is the opportunity. Not the warning, the opportunity. Quick gut check, and I really want your answer below. Yes or no? Do you believe clear crypto rules in America are now a question of when, not if? Just type yes or no. I read every single one, and I want to feel the conviction in this community. Now let me show you the quiet part of this bill nobody's talking about, and it might matter most of all for XRP. Here's something that got almost no attention this week, and it genuinely excites me, because it's about the future of everything built on XRP. There's a piece of this bill with a clunky name, the Blockchain Regulatory Certainty Act, and the House Majority Whip, Tom Emmer, explained it beautifully in about 30 seconds, so let me give it to you simply. The idea is this. If you're a developer who writes software, but you never take custody of anyone's money, you never hold their funds, you're just building the tools, then you should not be treated like a money transmitter and buried in licensing you don't need. In his words, unless you actually take possession of someone's cash or value, you're not a money transmitter, you're a builder. Now, why should an XRP holder care about a developer protection clause? Let me connect it for you, because this is huge. Think about everything being built on the XRP ledger. The payment apps, the DeFi layers, the tokenization tools, the next generation of financial products. Every one of those is built by developers. And right now, a lot of brilliant builders are scared to build in America because they're terrified that years down the road, someone uses their open software to do something bad, and the government comes after them for it. That fear pushes builders and their jobs and their innovation overseas, to Switzerland, to Singapore, to the UAE. This provision says no. If you're just writing code and not holding funds, you're protected. You can build here. And that is exactly how you keep the XRP ecosystem growing on American soil, with legal cover, instead of watching it flee somewhere friendlier. This is precisely the world Ripple's leaders, Brad Garlinghouse and Stu Alderoty, have been fighting for. They've said for years that XRP isn't a lottery ticket, it's infrastructure. And infrastructure needs builders. Protect the builders, and you protect the entire future being constructed on top of XRP. That's the quiet clause that could echo for a decade. So let's zoom out and be honest about what actually decides this from here. Let me give you the honest final picture, because you deserve clarity about clarity. What's the real holdup? It comes down to one thing right now: ethics. A compromise on ethics rules is sitting with the White House, and everyone's waiting to see the response. That's the domino. If it falls the right way, Senator Lummis believes enough Democrats come over to make this real. Names like Alsobrooks, Booker, Gallego, Warner. The votes are gettable. They're just not locked yet. And here's the beautiful part for you as a holder. Watch how this is being framed by the people in the room. The message is basically, we've bent over backwards for 11 months. We've given this industry a real path to be regulated and to stay in America. That's not the language of people trying to kill crypto. That's the language of people trying to onshore it, to keep it here, to build the future here instead of losing it overseas. So let me leave you with the idea that ties this whole thing together. There are two kinds of foundation in this world. There's the sandcastle and there's the concrete. A regulator's decision is a sandcastle. It's real today, but the next administration is the tide that can wash it away. A law is concrete. Once it's poured, it holds, no matter how the political weather changes. The Clarity Act is the concrete, and whether it sets this week or next month or later this year, the direction is locked. Commissioner Peirce told us the SEC keeps building either way. The institutions are onboarding either way. The coins are getting locked up either way. XRP wins on the long timeline no matter what the calendar does this Friday. Do I have a price target? No, and I never will. Anyone handing you a magic number is guessing. But the foundation under this thing is getting harder, not softer. And that's what actually matters for anyone thinking in years instead of days. So let me bring it all the way home. Today, the woman who has carried this bill for 11 months stood up in the light and said it's time to get everyone on the record. That's not a story about a bill dying. That's a story about a bill arriving. And underneath the noise, the builders are being protected. The institutions are onboarding faster than they can handle. And the regulators have promised to keep moving no matter what. Sentiment is awful. The fundamentals are quietly getting stronger. And if you've been in this space for more than a minute, you know which one of those two things actually decides the future. The pain doesn't last forever. It never does. We're early. The foundation is being poured. And I'd so much rather stand right here with you, watching real progress in real time, than get shaken out by a scary headline the day before the turn. So do your own research this week. Tune out the fear and come back tomorrow, because this is moving by the hour, and I'll be right here to walk you through every step. This is Crypto with BHW, where we tell it straight, with heart.